Long before anyone mapped these coasts, the Atlantic was already doing something dramatic, stretching wider, year by year, like a slow-motion fracture. As the crust pulled apart, the Earth answered with heat, sending magma upward to fill the gap and harden into new stone. That's how Iceland begins, not as a leftover piece of continent, but as land assembled from the inside out. It rises on the mid-Atlantic ridge, where the boundary between tectonic plates isn't hidden under ocean, it stands above it, exposed. And that's why Iceland looks like two worlds layered together, never fully agreeing on which one should dominate. One moment it's raw lava and sulfur steam, the next it's grass, roads, and homes that feel almost too normal for such unstable ground. So the journey begins with a promise. Iceland won't be explained like a textbook, it will be experienced like a living place. And the first place to feel that living pulse is the Southwest, where the modern era watched the Earth open again. Reykjanes is where Iceland feels most unfinished, a strip of land that looks like it's still cooling down. It's black rock, low hills, steam in the wind, an entire peninsula shaped by cracks that never fully relax. For centuries, this coast sat quiet enough that people started trusting the silence. Towns grew, roads connected the airport to the capital, and daily life settled on the assumption that the fire below had gone dormant. Then, in March 2021, the ground opened at Fagradalsfjall, not with one violent blast, but with something almost hypnotic. Lava rose steadily from deep underground and began to pour in glowing rivers, building a brand new landscape while people watched. What made it unforgettable was the rhythm. It didn't fade quickly like most eruptions. It persisted, intensified, kept feeding the valley. Visitors hiked across older lava fields to stand at the edge of fresh earth, watching orange flow carve shapes that had no names yet. And just a short distance away, Reykjanes keeps showing variations of the same restless system. Steam vents, shaking ground, new cracks. The route now follows that heat outward, toward boiling mud and seawater turned to steam, where the coastline looks calm but never really is. At Gunniver, the ground doesn't just steam, it churns, spits, and roars like it's arguing with the sky. The mud pool boils with such force that walkways don't feel permanent. Boards get eaten, swallowed, and dissolved into the same chaos tourists came to witness. What makes it stranger is the water source. Not gentle groundwater, but seawater pulled underground and superheated from below. It's the ocean meeting fire in the dark, returning to the surface as steam clouds visible for miles, a reminder that this peninsula runs on borrowed stability. Follow the coast and the violence sharpens into something more structured. Black sand, fractured cliffs, and a lighthouse standing like a stubborn sentence. Reykjanesviti, raised in 1878, marks a shoreline that never stops shifting, as if the land keeps trying to rewrite its own edges. Then the journey turns inland to a different kind of wonder. Thrynukagígur, a volcano that erupted long ago and drained instead of sealing shut. It left behind a hollow magma chamber so vast it feels impossible to imagine until the viewer is told a monument-sized object could fit inside. And the point isn't just that it exists, it's that people can descend into it, slowly lowering into the heart of a volcano like entering the Earth's private room. From there, the story snaps into focus. All of these extremes come from one visible truth: the crack in the crust where continents pull apart. Iceland sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge, one of the few places on Earth where a boundary between continents rises above the sea. Here, the ground isn't just geologically active, it's physically split, open enough to stand beside and look into. A person can cross from North America to Eurasia in a few steps and feel, in the body, what a tectonic plate boundary really means. Between 1210 and 1240, the region burned through decades of eruptions, then went silent for centuries, long enough for people to forget. Now the fires have returned, and the return doesn't feel like a surprise so much as a cycle restarting. From this rift, the journey moves outward again, toward the ocean, where waves carve the lava into beauty that looks harmless until it isn't. Reykjavik feels improbable the moment the viewer remembers what surrounds it: fissures, lava fields, and a peninsula that keeps waking up. And yet, it works. Streets, homes, cafes, schools, daily life unfolding on ground that can't promise it will stay quiet. The key is heat. Geothermal energy warms nearly everything, turning the Earth's restlessness into comfort. In a place this far north, that warmth isn't a luxury. It's the reason a capital can thrive at all. The city's architecture doesn't hide its origins, it echoes them. Hallgrímskirkja rises like a frozen eruption, its facade shaped to mimic basalt columns, as if lava cooled into a church. Down at the harbor, the mood shifts from stone to glass, from ancient forces to modern design. Harpa's geometric panels catch the light like scales, mirroring the sea and sky while fishing boats tie up beside concert halls. And that contrast becomes the point. Reykjavik isn't only a survival story, it's a cultural one born from isolation and long winters. On the south coast, Iceland flips its personality again. Fire still lives under the crust, but the surface is ruled by meltwater and ice. Jökulsárlón feels like a place that shouldn't be there yet, because it didn't exist the way it does now a century ago. As the glacier pulled back, meltwater filled the space, deepening into a lagoon where massive icebergs drift like slow, silent towers. Seals rest on smaller bergs like they're on private rafts, floating past tourists who can only watch and try to understand the calm. Vatnajökull, the giant, hides tunnels and chambers that form naturally when summer meltwater cuts through the glacier like a slow drill. When winter arrives, those tunnels freeze solid and become briefly accessible, like doors that open only a few months each year. The blue isn't pale or decorative, it's intense, almost glowing, the kind of color that makes the viewer doubt the camera. And the explanation lands clean. Ice this old is compressed, stripped of air bubbles, so light travels deep, loses reds, and returns as blue. The highlands feel like Iceland without safety rails. Bigger distances, fewer people, and terrain that doesn't care about convenience. Remote canyons appear like secrets, steep walls draped with waterfalls that seem to spill from nowhere. Rivers have carved these slots over millennia, slicing through volcanic rock until the land looks cut open, exposing layers like raw pages. Eventually, all that carving has to empty somewhere, and the story widens into the outwash plains. Skeiðarársandur spreads like a black desert between glacier and ocean, with braided rivers weaving silver threads across sand. Then Iceland turns surreal again, not through drama, but through softness. Eldrón, a lava field buried under moss. Fjarðargljúfur looks like something imagined, not eroded. Green walls rising in smooth curves above a narrow river thread. The canyon was carved long ago by floodwaters cutting through volcanic rock, but its modern story is about something else: attention. For years, it was quiet enough to feel almost private, a place that belonged to hikers willing to detour. Then a pop star filmed a music video here, and suddenly the canyon wasn't just a landscape, it was a location people recognized. Some Icelandic landmarks don't require a long hike or special timing. They announce themselves the moment the viewer arrives. Skogafoss is one of those. A huge curtain of water dropping with constant force, close enough that the mist feels personal. On sunny days, rainbows appear in the spray, sometimes doubling, turning a simple waterfall into a repeating reward. But the story doesn't stop at pretty. It uses Skogafoss to reinforce a theme. Water is an architect here. It pounds the ground, carves amphitheaters, and keeps reshaping cliffs the same way lava reshaped valleys, just slower and steadier. That connection lands like a quiet revelation. Iceland's nature doesn't just inspire art, it provides the blueprint. The Golden Circle starts with a place that feels like a statement, not just a stop. Thingvellir is a rift valley where the earth is visibly pulling apart, and Iceland chose this fracture as its beginning. Cliffs split, cracks widen, and the ground looks like it's mid-separation. Its geology turned into stage design. Even the water inside this rift feels like it belongs to another category of reality. Silfra is glacial melt filtered through porous lava for decades, stripped clean until visibility becomes almost unsettling. Head north, and Iceland's friendly postcard energy peels away, revealing terrain that looks half-cooked. Geothermal fields stain the ground sulfur yellow and rust red, with steam rolling upward and a smell that hints at matches and decay. They feel like the earth turned inside out, mud pools churning gray and ochre, vents hissing, soil too hot for roots to hold. Then the landscape shifts into volcanic architecture. Craters like open wounds, symmetrical rims, and lakes that look inviting until the viewer remembers where they sit. Near Lake Mývatn, the lava gets weird in the best way, forming Dimuborgir, the dark castles. Twisted pillars, arches, and tunnels stand frozen mid-collapse, like Gothic structures built by heat and then abandoned. The explanation arrives like a reveal. Lava flowed over water, steam vents formed, the crust hardened, and when the lava drained away, the towers remained. On the northern coast, the wind feels sharper and the ocean looks heavier, as if the water carries more weight here. Husavik is small, but it thrives because the sea off this harbor is rich, cold Arctic currents mixing with warmer Atlantic water. That mixing creates feeding grounds, and in summer, the bay becomes a stage for whales. Boats leave daily, tourists bundled against the cold, scanning the surface until a blow appears and everything goes quiet. In summer, Iceland's cliffs turn into crowded cities, not of people, but of birds returning on schedule like a ritual. Puffins arrive by the millions, waddling awkwardly on land but moving with sharp precision in the air and underwater. They dive deep, return with fish, disappear into burrows, raise a single chick, and vanish again when the season ends. And when winter returns, Iceland saves its most theatrical performance for the sky. Under long darkness, auroras ripple in green and sometimes pink, solar wind turning the atmosphere into moving curtains, nature's light show at the edge of the world.